I'm Tara Adams, your wellness manager. And as part of our quarterly focus on physical wellness, we have invited Nikki Karn to share some great tips on the best lunches and snacks for us to eat at work. Nikki has a background in nutrition and is the health and wellness coordinator at Stuart Olson. So welcome, Nikki.
Thanks, Tara. Great to be here again.
Yes, this is your second video. The first one was so good. Okay, so let's start off. Why is it important for us to think about nutrition at work?
Awesome. Here, let me just pull up some slides to go along with my chat here today. There we go. All good, Tara?
It's loading. I see it. Nutrition at Work, March 2018. Nikki Karn. Got it.
Fantastic. So the purpose of the chat here today, as Tara mentioned, is to provide you with some snack ideas and some catering suggestions to fuel optimal cognition and productivity in the workplace. So this is a message that should be of interest to all of you on here as employees and to all those on the line that are listening in as leaders. So anyone who is manager of a team, director of a section there at ATB, anyone really who orders catering for events, meetings, conferences, things like that. So some great information for you today as to how nutrition is related to cognition. So a bit of a background on me first. I have a degree in human kinetics with a fair amount of coursework in nutrition. So that's nutrition for health and chronic disease prevention, as well as nutrition for special populations. I've also done a fair bit of coaching over the last 5 years here at Stuart Olson, with a real focus on practical applications. So the first thing that I want to bring to your attention is the relationship between nutrition and cognition, because I think so often we think about nutrition in relationship to our physical health, particularly when it comes to weight management. But over and above that, I think it's very interesting to focus on nutrition as it relates to our mental health, and in particular, how our brain functions. So nutrition, the food that we eat, is broken down into macronutrients, so things like fats, proteins, carbohydrates, as well as micronutrients, and there's dozens of them, vitamins and minerals, things you've heard of before, vitamin C, zinc, iron, folate, things like that. There's also a component of food that we don't often think about, which is phytochemicals. And these are chemical compounds found in plants that offer us protective and disease preventative properties. So really, there's so much more to food than really just the energy that we get from it. There's a whole complexity to nutrition. And food directly influences our brain structure and function. So proper nutrition can offer many, many benefits for both our short-term and long-term brain functioning. So today I'll get a little bit here into some short-term benefits as well as some long-term benefits. Short-term with your immediate functioning in your brain, and long-term having a bit more to do with structural changes in your brain. So as far as some short-term benefits of eating a proper diet, it's important to consider the energy that we get from our food. So a fun fact, our brain comprises about 2% of our body's mass. And when it comes to energy consumption, it's more like 20 to 25% of the energy that we get from our foods is going towards fueling our brain. So for such a small organ, when you consider its mass, it's actually using a lot of our food energy. Carbohydrate is the main macronutrient that provides our brains and our central nervous system with energy. So if you're having very low glycemic index foods, so those are things like the whole wheat options, fruits and vegetables, generally things that have a lot of fiber, they provide you a lot more consistent energy for your brain functioning versus high glycemic index foods. Those are things like white breads and pastas and candies that provide immediate rush of sugar. So having those can actually really quickly deplete your energy and cause feelings of fatigue. When it comes to learning and memory in the short term, carbohydrates help to fuel the processes in your brains to keep different parts functioning properly. And protein is a big part that has to do with creating neurotransmitters that relay messages in your brain so that you can actually learn and retain information. A lot of micronutrients are related to learning and memory, things like zinc, omega-3s, magnesium, manganese. There's tons of different components of your food that can either impair or produce better results when it comes to your learning and your memory. Lots of studies out there. One in particular I thought was pretty interesting, where they compared a huge group of students that had a nutrition intervention. So they had these vitamin mineral mixed drinks that had all kinds of zinc, folate, etc. And they compared it to a placebo group, so getting a drink that didn't have any of these. The group that had the vitamin and mineral drink actually had a huge boost on their learning skills and memory retention over the group that didn't have this nutrition intervention. When it comes to your attention and your concentration, junk foods can really derail your ability to focus. So high glycemic index foods like white breads, or pizza crusts that are coming from white breads, or candies, things like that, can really reduce focus. Studies have shown that sugary foods in particular are related to reduced cognitive processing. Fats are related as well. So if you're having high trans fats or saturated fats, those reduce your cognitive processes as well. So if you think about having a piece of pizza, you're getting a lot of that sort of stuff, the high glycemic index, the high saturated fat content. And that, honestly, a lot of studies are out there showing that your attention and your concentration are impaired as a result of consuming foods like that. In terms of mood, there's a huge connection between your gut and your brain. So there's a lot of nerves that run from your intestine to your brain, impacting hormones such as serotonin or endorphins that give your brain messages as to how you're feeling. So having fruits and vegetables, the carbohydrate with phytochemicals, can really boost your mood. And things that we know to be true, dark chocolates, a lot of flavanols in there, caffeine in moderation, things like that. So those are some of the short-term benefits of getting proper nutrition. As far as long-term, those ones have more to do with the structural changes, so learning and memory. So these are things like Alzheimer's prevention and the ability to have a hippocampus, that's a part of your brain that is involved in long-term memory, one that processes effectively over the course of your lifespan. Huge relationship between having nutrient-dense foods and improved performance of those parts of your brain and prevention of Alzheimer's. Attention and concentration, so these are things like prevalence of ADD or ADHD, prevalence of learning disabilities, big correlation there with things like omega-3 or healthy fat consumption. And then getting into mood, things like having consistent protein intake, omega-3s, whole food diets, those are all related with improved mood and lowered risk of depression. In fact, one study found a depression risk that was reduced by about 25 to 35% in people consuming a traditional whole food diet, so things like a Mediterranean diet or Japanese diet, versus a Western diet, which is more modern, processed types of food. So depression risk was largely reduced with people consuming that healthier diet. So really, at the end of the day, just some food for thought, that these are all benefits that are well worth pursuing. And the good news is that all of these benefits can come from a nutritious diet. So as far as some implications for you guys, it's very important as an employee to eat food that's good for you to reap these benefits, and as an employee leader to be providing food at catered meetings or events that allow your employees to reap these benefits as well. As far as I like to put it, we really like to have brain food, not drain food, to fuel our day.
Well, there you go. There's one thing we can all remember: brain food, not drain. So, Nikki, tell us a bit more about what is brain food.
So, here's an example of some brain foods. And if I were to ask you what are some commonalities with the foods in this photo, what would you say? I think a lot of people would notice that these tend to be whole type of foods. They don't come out of a package. The biggest thing with all these is that they all have one ingredient. There's no additive. They're just very naturally occurring foods. A lot of them are plant-based, especially. So when it comes to the macros, fats in particular, you can see in the upper left-hand corner there, those are things like avocado, fish, nuts, oils. You're getting unsaturated fats from these, or good fats, that break down into lipids and comprise the cell membranes. So they're constantly replenishing the cell membranes and actually making up the structure of your brain. About 60% of the dry weight of your brain comes from healthy fats. Proteins, you'll notice things on there like lean meats, poultry, low-fat dairy, legumes, eggs, grains. These break down into amino acids. A lot of them are essential, meaning that they have to come from your diet in order to be present in your body to perform their tasks. And so these are the precursors of neurotransmitters. So they are the messengers in your brain. They relay the messages, allow your learning, your cognition, your memory formation. And they also produce hormones. So these regulate your mood, your attention, and give you feelings of satiety. And then finally, carbohydrates, you'll notice a lot of fruits and vegetables in there, whole grains as well, oats, legumes. And these are all low glycemic index foods. So they give a slow release of energy to your brain and to your body for optimal functioning. So you want these, and in comparison, you don't want the high glycemic index foods. Those are more the junk foods or white bread, because those ones will cause you to have a spike and crash when it comes to your blood sugar. When it comes to micronutrients, don't concern yourself too much. I know on the previous slide I was mentioning things like magnesium, manganese, B vitamins. Really just eat the rainbow, and you don't have to worry so much about getting caught up in the finer details there. If it's something that concerns you, or if you're on some kind of restricted diet, vegetarian, veganism, it's best to consume a multivitamin, and that gives you a bit of insurance against a less than perfect diet.
All right. So we had a comment that, yes, this looks very colorful, beautiful. Eat the rainbow. There's another simple thing we can all remember. Okay, so Nikki, you've set the stage. Now, keeping all of this in mind, what are the best things to snack on when you're at work?
So ideally in the workplace, these are some things you want to be thinking about. So whole foods, first and foremost. Whenever possible, have those single ingredients. So having a piece of whole fruit or vegetables or hard-boiled eggs or avocado. But if you are buying packaged foods, which who doesn't, look for ones with less ingredients and ingredient names that are very familiar to you. It's not a huge list of a bunch of syllables that just seem streamed together and you have no idea if you're eating food or a just totally food product. So definitely look for those types of things when you're packing your snacks and your lunches too, of course. Look for moderate portion sizes, so around 200 to 250 calories, and pre-portion amounts. Try not to eat out of bags. This just means that you're getting a amount that you need when it comes to energy, and it gives your mood a boost, provides you with some satiety, but it's not so much that you feel sluggish. You're not having a giant muffin that is going to cause you that spike and crash when it comes to your blood sugar. And then finally, just look for variety when it comes to your macros and your micros. So have combinations together of carbohydrates, proteins, and fats. And if you want to think about it in terms of the Canada Food Guide, having different grains, fruits and vegetables, that sort of thing. And really at the end of the day, like I said on the previous slide, just go for color. Try and have a big mix of color in your diet each day. So I wanted to get a little bit into some top 10. I know our brains are usually pretty jazzed about thinking about things in terms of top 10 or groupings or recommendations. So I put together some recommendations for you guys of some good snacks that you can be packing for work, or if you're giving them to your kids for school as well.
Okay, I'm excited to see this. This is going to be my grocery list from now on.
So the first 4 different snacks or snack combos that I'm showing to you guys are all meant to be very portable. So no need to refrigerate these types of things. With some of these things, it's easy to keep them in your car so that you don't need to pull in through a drive-through when you're way home from work if you're feeling hungry, or if you're dropping the kids off at dance or soccer, you can have these on hand. So going for things like homemade popcorn and mixed nuts. With popcorn, pop it in oil or pop it in air, add a little bit of salt, and then look for some fun flavoring ideas that get you excited about it, such as lime zest and chili powder, ideas like that, where you can make it a bit more fun and exciting, especially if you're having this week after week as a packed item in your lunch. The next one here is looking at a low sodium jerky and then a piece of whole fruit. So with the first one, and actually with all of these, I think something you'll notice is that they all have protein and fiber. And that's a big thing that you want to look for with your snacks, is making sure that you're getting both of those to keep you full longer and ensure that you have a constant supply of energy for your brain. Roasted edamame beans or chickpeas. Yeah, you can do these at home on your own. Do them up with some oil, salt, and pepper in the oven, or look for ones on the grocery shelf that have a bit lower sodium. And finally, as far as the portable ones go, just having a mixed nuts and a piece of whole fruit. Really easy to grab and go, throwing those things, the mixed nuts in a bag and taking it with you if you're on a rush to get somewhere. So the next ones that I'm going to talk to you about, the next 6, are a bit less portable. They do require more refrigeration, some prep. And really something to keep in mind here is just doing a mass prep at the start of the week and putting things into storage containers. Just simplify your life a little bit. So with this one here, go for a variety of color with your vegetables and have it with a bit of hummus, because vegetables on their own don't actually offer very much in terms of calories and energy, but pairing it with something like hummus that's a bit higher fat will help to keep you full and help to make your brain a bit happier.
Okay, and this is where I'm going to share another story about me as a mom fail, good try. So when Nikki and I were putting this presentation together, and all of Nikki's hard work, I told her the story about when my son was about 11 months old, end of mat leave, we went traveling for a month to visit family. And his grandma's best friend is a doctor. And she took one look at him and said, does he eat a lot of carrots? And I thought, wow, how does she know that? And she said, he's a bit orange. So he had, in fact, overdosed on carrots, which of course was mom's fault. But I think Nikki's point is, eat the rainbow and eating lots of vegetables and maybe not too much of the same thing, even when it's a healthy choice. So Nikki, this is my question on behalf of my family is, can you eat too much fruit or too much vegetables?
Good question. So definitely too much of anything is frowned upon. So in your case of carrots, that was the beta carotene in the carrots. That was, it's the pigment that gives carrots its orange color. And so it was actually discoloring his skin by leaching out of too many carrots. So at least you didn't ask if he was eating too many cheesies, right?
That's right. Good. Okay.
A healthy fail instead of a junk food fail. But yeah, too much of anything can cause either vitamin or mineral toxicity. So I think we've heard a lot about deficiencies. So you don't want to be deficient in iron, anemia, things like that. But there is such a thing as toxicity when it comes to the food that we eat. A lot of times it can result first in gastrointestinal distress. So if you're having too much of something, your intestines are going to be the first thing to respond. A lot of times it can affect how your body retains water. So it can disrupt the sodium-potassium balance and how water is absorbed. And even certain things can affect your kidneys and your liver or your central nervous system. So spinach is one example, or vitamin C consumption. Both of those can result in kidney stones when overconsumed. And then the other one too, I think, like things like booster juice and Jugo juice is one to think about, where a lot of times we'll just pack, 8 portions of fruit into our bodies at once, which is all fine and good when it comes to your micronutrients. But you're going to be getting a huge dose of sugar from that. So I think, like I mentioned before, getting that crash and burn when it comes to your spike in your blood glucose and then sudden decline, you will notice that both in your body and in your brain. You'll start to feel a bit sluggish and fatigued. So yes, too much of anything can be an issue, even as far as fruits and veggies are concerned. So moving on, I think we're on number 6 here. So this is hard-boiled egg, crackers, and cheese, getting a bit of fiber in there. Look for crackers that have, whole ingredients, ingredient names that you recognize, and then going for a moderate portion of things like cheese, which are, of course, high in fat. Cottage cheese, go for something sweet or savory. Me personally, I do prefer the savory combos, so adding in things like tomato and basil and a splash of balsamic in there makes for a great meal, filling, full of protein, full of fiber. And then plain Greek yogurt along with a fruit berry mix. So something I really like to go for with this one is taking frozen berries, grab them out of the freezer first thing in the morning, put them in a Tupperware with your yogurt, and throughout the day they'll thaw, and actually a lot of that flavor will seep directly into the yogurt. So it tends to take away that Greek-y taste from plain Greek yogurt and add a bit more sweetness and flavor from the actual juices of the fruits and berries. Going for a fruit salad and then pairing it with something that has a bit of fat and protein with it fills you up a bit more, provides you with tons of color in your diet and a variety of those macronutrients. And then the last one here, if you're going for something sweet, Instead of going and picking up a donut or something like that, try and make something that's a bit more fun, but also filling and nutritious. So taking half an English muffin that's whole wheat, putting a bit of peanut butter, chocolate, banana on there, having that as a treat that is also full of protein and fiber, fills you up a bit more and gives your brain a boost.
And I've already taken that one home to the family. So that was a great suggestion. Thank you. Let's switch gears. So these are our top 10 snacks to keep our brain functioning. And again, I love how we're focusing on nutrition at work. So this is a little bit less about weight management, nutrition management, wellness management. It's more about why is it important to think about what you eat at work as far as productivity, focus, and being your best self. So let's switch gears and talk about what should we do when we're having a meal as a team at work. Doesn't happen all the time, but now and again, you've got that all-day meeting and somebody's ordering the lunch. What's your advice, Nikki?
Cool. So when it comes to healthy catering, here are some of my suggestions. Beverages, first and foremost, I really think it's important to be ordering low or no sugar beverages for your team. So in practice, what that looks like, having a couple coffee options, caffeinated, decaf, a couple tea options, black and herbal, and a couple water options, either flat or sparkling. Definitely best to avoid pop, soft drinks, juices, because a lot of those, as I mentioned several times, is going to be that glucose spike and crash, which can really derail productivity, really impair focus, and interfere with memory in your staff, which you don't want at a catered meeting, especially. You want everyone to be focused and attentive and able to perform at their best. If you are going to be ordering things like juice or soft drinks, consider getting the mini cans, the mini bottles, or if you have, a 2 liter of pop or juice, having smaller cups to go along with it. So really just a focus on limiting the amount of sugar that is immediately entering someone's bloodstream and impacting their brain performance. As far as meals go, my suggestions here are to just order whole food meals. So look for ones that are vegetable based and have at least 3 food groups per meal. When you consider pizza, I don't think that the small amount of vegetables that appears on the pizza counts as a food group. So sorry, pizza might be off the recommended list here.
Good to know. Good to know.
And to tailor your order. So if you're the one placing a catering order, if you're asking someone on the admin team to do that for you, put in some healthy requests to go along with it. You're the ones paying for the meal. You're the customer. Request everything to be whole grain. Request no processing with the meats. Request cutting items in half, such as the desserts or pastries, so that people can, enjoy a sweet treat, but a very small portion of it. And then set up wisely to facilitate better choices for your teammates. So again, this can be a request to the actual catering company or a request to whoever on your team is helping you with the setup. But place those fruit, vegetables, and salads first. A 2013 study found that healthy foods that are served first in the buffet line contribute to improved overall meal selection. So from this study that I was reading in the results and conclusion, it was saying that with buffet foods, the first ones seen are the ones most selected. Over 75% of diners select the first food that they see, and the first 3 foods that encountered in the lineup usually comprise about 66% of somebody's plate. So put those healthy foods first. Rearranging the food order from healthiest to least healthy can simply just nudge unknowing or even resistant diners towards making some healthier choices. So as simple as that, put those healthy things first and people will make healthier choices even unconsciously. If you're doing some prep work, prep the plates with fruits, vegetables, and salads. I think a lot of times when catering is put out, you'll get the salads, pitas, etc., and then the salad tends to go untouched. That's what's put on the counter at the end of the day for people to feed on leftovers. If someone on your admin team helping with setup or someone in catering is requested of them to actually prep the plates, put a half a sandwich with some salad or put a bowl of soup with some salad, put those vegetables right on the plates. It really facilitates people to not have to make those choices. It's already made for them. Or cutting items in half. Again, if someone is actually prepping the food on your team, asking them, hey, can you please cut those desserts, pastries in half, so that people will make more moderate portion sizes. So what does it actually look like as far as healthy catering with meals? So a commonality I think that you'll notice with all of these is that every plate here has greens on it. We want to make sure that vegetables are hitting every plate that people are grabbing, and that there's a mix of macronutrients and food groups that you can see here. So, I mean, I'm not suggesting that these are the only things to order for your team. There's a whole host of other things out there, great chilies or stews or different types of meals that are rice-based or pasta-based. But just make sure that there is a focus on vegetables and a focus on variety when it comes to the catering that you're feeding your team. As snacks is the other one. So a big consideration with all of these snacks is having high fiber and low glycemic index snacks. So, some of these, maybe someone on your admin team already does a Costco shop now and then and is, going to pick up supplies for the office. So putting things on here that could be healthier snack options for your team to consider at meetings and events. Things like having nuts, mixed nuts, or tortillas with salsa, ordering different trays of crackers and cheese or fruits or vegetables. And then if you are doing a fruit delivery program, having an additional box that is just set aside for meetings so that a dessert tray doesn't need to be set out in the afternoon. It can be a whole fruit tray instead.
Wow, I like it.
So one of my final points here is that I think a lot of people have reservations when it comes to ordering healthier catering. They think, oh no, the cost is going to be exorbitant, that won't fit my budget, or how will people respond? People are going to want pizza. What will they think when I set out salads in front of them? And I just wanted to bust those myths a little bit for you guys and give you some more food for thought. So when it comes to cost, consider the price tag on the meal, so the actual catering price that you're ordering, versus the price tag on your workforce and the time that you are spending preparing a presentation or a meeting. When you consider the costs going into the people in that room and the time spent in that room, that's going to be markedly greater in most cases than the price tag on a meal. So spending that little bit extra to make sure that your meal is healthy, I think is really going to be not a great cost consideration in the long run, when the greatest cost really goes into your teammates. So why not pay a relatively small additional amount of dollars to ensure that your employees in attendance are engaged, alert, engaged, and productive? The alternative is saving a little bit by ordering pizza and pop, but your trade-off is going to be a more drained, inattentive, and disengaged crowd. So the better cost savings can actually be found in limiting things like your desserts, your soft drinks, or other junky extras, or making a list of healthy and budget-friendly catering options. So maybe your admin team can help out there, making a list of the go-tos for exclusive use for healthy options. And finally here, the response. So I think a lot of times people are concerned that providing healthy food will mean that people are disappointed with their free lunch. But polls and studies actually show that healthy eating is increasingly important to Canadians in our day and age. So 72% of men and 80% of women are reported as trying to eat healthier. Another 49% report guilt from eating unhealthy foods. So people do want healthy options. They do care to put good fuel into their bodies for them, for their brains, for their weight management. And that last point there speaks truth to that, where 42%, 2 out of 5 of Canadians say they were on a diet in the past year. So people do genuinely care about being healthier, about making the right choices. And if your work is able to accommodate that with the food being provided at catered events, then all the better.
Wow, I think that's my favorite part. I was trying to bust some of those myths, but you said it so much better, Nikki. So thank you. Thank you for doing that. I think a couple of things that I would take away for sure is the brain food, not drain food. I think next time you guys are chatting with your fellow team members, that's a great way to think about this. Also, eat the rainbow, and of course, the myth busting right at the end. So thank you, Nikki, and to everyone who joined in. I will be posting Nikki's slides that she prepared here and shared, and also the recording of the video along with our ATB catering guidelines. So good luck to all of you choosing your snacks and meals at work. And Nikki, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Tara.
Okay, bye for now.